score years ago, a great American in whose symbolic shadow we stand today signed the Emancipation Proclamation.
This momentous decree came as a great beacon light of hope to millions of Negro slaves who had been seared in the withering flames of injustice.
It came as a joyous daybreak in the long night of their captivity.
But 100 years later, the Negro is still not free. 100
years later, the life of the Negro is so sadly crippled by the manacles of segregation and the chains of discrimination.
100 years later, the Negro lives on a lonely island of poverty in the midst of a vast ocean of material prosperity.
100 years later, the Negro still languished in the corners of American society and finds himself in exile in his own land.
So we have come here today to dramatize in shameful condition.
In a sense, we have come to our nation's capital to cash a check.
For when the architects of our republic wrote the magnificent words of the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, they were signing a promissory note to which every American was to fall heir.
This note was a promise that all men, yes, black men as well as white men, would be guaranteed the unalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
It is obvious today that America has defaulted on this promissory note insofar as its citizens of color are concerned.
Instead of honoring the sacred obligation, America has given the Negro people a bad check, a check which has come back marked insufficient funds.
But we refuse to believe the Bank of Justice is bankrupt.
We refuse to believe that there are insufficient funds in the great vaults of opportunity of this nation.
So we have come to cash this check, a check that will give us upon demand the richest freedom and security of justice.
We've also come to this hallowed spot to remind America of the fierce urgency of now.
This is no time to engage in luxury of cooling off or to take the tranquilizing drug of gradualism.
Now is the time to make real the promises of democracy.
Now is to rise from the dark and desolate valley of segregation to the sunlit path of racial justice.
Now is the time to lift our nation from the quicksands of racial injustice to the solid rock of brotherhood.
Now is the time to make justice a reality for all of God's children.
It would be fatal for the nation to overlook the urgency of the moment.
This sweltering summer of Negro's legitimate discontent will not pass until there's an invigorating autumn of freedom and equality.
1963 is not an end, but a beginning.
Those who hope that the Negro need to blow off steam and will now be satisfied will have a rude awakening if the nation goes back to business as usual.
There will neither be rest nor tranquility in America until the Negro is granted his citizenship rights.
The whirlwinds of revolt continue to shake the foundations of our nation until this bright day of justice emerges.
But there is something I must say to my people who stand at the warm threshold which leads into the palace of justice.
In the process of gaining our rightful place, we must not be wrongful. We must not have wrongful deeds.
Let us not seek to satisfy our thirst for freedom by drinking from the cup of bitterness and hatred.
We must forever conduct our struggle on a high plane of dignity and discipline.
Discipline?
We must not allow our creative protests to degenerate into physical violence.
Again and again, we must rise to the majestic heights and meet physical force with soul force.
I'm not...
The marvelous?
Yeah. The marvelous and militancy which has engulfed the Negro community must not lead to a distrust of all white people.
For many of our white brothers, as evidence of their presence here today, have realized that their freedom is inextricably bound to our freedom, and their destiny is tied up with our destiny. We cannot walk alone.
And as we walk, we must make the pledge that we shall always march ahead. We cannot turn back.
There are those who are questioning the devotees of civil rights. When will you be satisfied?
We can never be satisfied as long as the Negro is the victim of unspeakable horrors of police brutality.
We can never be satisfied as long as our bodies, heavy with the fatigue of travel, cannot gain lodging in the motels, the highways, and the hotels of the cities.
We can never be satisfied as long as a Negro in Mississippi cannot vote and a Negro in New York believes he has nothing for which to vote.
No, we are not satisfied, and we cannot be satisfied until justice rolls down like waters and righteousness like a mighty stream.
I'm not unmindful that some of you have come here out of great trials and tribulations.
Some of you have come here straight from narrow jail cells.
Some of you have come from areas where your quest for freedom has left you battered by the storms of persecution and staggered by the winds of police brutality.
You've been the veterans of creative protesting.
Continue to work with the faith that unknown suffering is redemptive.
Go back to Mississippi, go back to Alabama, go back to Louisiana, go back to Georgia, go back to the slums and ghettos of the northern cities, knowing the situation can and will be changed.
Let us not wallow in the valley of despair.
I say to you today.
Even though we face the struggles of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream.
It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream.
I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the meaning of its true creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal.
Oh, I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood.
I have a dream that
one day
down in Alabama with the suspicious
Mississippi.
in in Mississippi.
A state
A state sweltering with the heat of injustice, sweltering with the heat of oppression, will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice.
I have a dream that one day my 4 little children will be able to live in a nation where they'll not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character.
I have a dream that
today.
today.
And then it says one day down in Alabama. I have a dream one day down in Alabama.
I have a dream one day down in Alabama, with his vicious racists, with his governor having his lips dripping with the words interposition, nullification. One day, right there in Alabama, little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with the little white girls and white boys as sisters and brothers. I
have a dream today. I have a dream that one day every valley shall be exalted, every hill and mountain shall be made low, and the crooked places shall be made straight, and the rough places shall be made plain, and the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together.
This is our faith. This is the hope I go back to the South with.
With this faith.
With this faith, we'll be able to hew out of the mountain of despair a stone of hope.
With this faith, we'll be able to change the dangling discords of our nation to a beautiful symphony of brotherhood.
This faith, we'll be able to work together, to pray together, to struggle together, to go to jail together, to stand up for freedom together, knowing that we will be free one day.
This will be the day.
This will be the day. This will be the day when all of God's children will sing with new meaning. My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, land of thee seen, land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's bride, from every mountainside let freedom ring.
And if America is to be a great nation, this must become true.
So let freedom ring for the prettiest hilltops of
New Hampshire.
Let freedom ring from the mighty mountains of New York.
Let freedom ring from the heightening Alleghenies of Pennsylvania.
Let freedom ring from the snow-capped Rockies of Colorado.
Let freedom ring from the curvaceous slopes of California.
Not only that, let freedom ring from the Stone Mountain of Alabama.
Let freedom ring from Lookout Mountain of Tennessee.
From every hill and molehill of Mississippi, let freedom ring.
And when this happens, when we allow...
It was Stone Mountain of Georgia, sorry.
And when this happens, when we allow freedom to ring from every hill and molehill, from every state and every city, we'll be able to speed up the day when all of God's children will sing. Well, when all of God's children will be able, black men and white men,
Jews and Gentiles,
Catholics and Protestants will be able to join hands together and sing with new meaning. In the words of the old Negro spiritual, free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we're free at last.